Dave here. Just a short video. My dad a couple years ago bought a flip. It's unfortunately been discontinued since he bought it. And what do you know, on Christmas it conked out on us. Well, we didn't know if the flip was dead or if the battery was dead or what. We kind of, took it apart, poked around a little, couldn't figure it out. And it's been sitting in my garage ever since. So I just got a chance to spend some time on it. Some interesting facts about this flip battery. I won't read it all off, but here it is for anyone that needs it. The battery connector has a keyed connector. I think they're called JSTs. And here's what I got on there. There's a red, blue, and green wire. So yeah, between the red and the green, I got 3.48 volts, and between the blue and the green, I got 3.48 volts. It looks like the blue and the green are both grounds. This one, when I loaded it, stayed at 3.48, but this one dropped down to 0.2. I still don't know. I'm guessing this is the sense, but I could be totally wrong. The flip didn't respond at all and plugged into USB before. Since then, I've hooked it up to some supplemental power. Was feeding it 3.9 volts, and it was consuming about 0.5 amps. It's since dropped off. It was still pulling 0.1 amps when I had it up to the PC, which is probably incredibly dangerous, and I would never do that to a computer I cared about. But I've got this old crappy laptop and an even crappier hub that it's plugged through. So who cares? The end goal of all this was really not so much to fix the flip as it was to get the videos off of it, which we appear to be successful at. Unfortunately, this computer has a USB 1.1 bus, so it's going to be take a little while before I see those videos. It does show that it's charging the battery, which is a little scary, since I don't really know what kind of battery technology is in use. It's showing up as a 3.7 volt DC, 920 milliamps on the specs. So I'm hoping that's not like a lie poly or something, because I really don't want it to explode in my face. And that's about the short of it. A couple of interesting notes for anyone else trying to fix a flip. The flip does not require the keypad to be plugged in order to turn on, so you don't have to have this hanging off there while you're trying to figure it out. Other useful tidbits. The flip has these, it's going to be hard to show here, but it has these 3 metal clips on the back that push up against the back of the battery. You can see here on the battery cover, there's 1, 2, 3 exposed pieces of metal. Well, there's little metal clips on the board that press up against these. And it looks like when they're pressing against these, they actually break a switch. So I wasted all kinds of time running jumper cables around and trying to depress the switches and everything, and isn't required. Another interesting note, when I first hooked up the voltage and pressed the power button, nothing happened at all. During subsequent experiments, I pressed the power button and it went on. I undid the last thing I had done, and it continued to turn on. So I think it just needed some time to charge the battery up a tad. Maybe the battery had discharged to the point where the internal flip charger wouldn't charge it anymore, and maybe brute forcing some power into that battery has maybe brought it back to life. We'll see once I'm done copying the pictures off of here in 68 minutes if it hasn't exploded by then. Maybe this thing will be back to life if I can figure out how to get all the screws back in it. I usually use some little Tupperware cups, but I was over at my parents', so little overkill, but I know that this screw goes in first, then this one, and then that one, since it's the reverse order of how we took it apart. So who knows? Maybe the next video I upload will be from this mess of electronics down here. I did also find what appeared to be a PTC, a poly switch type component, And so I was poking around for a while with my my tweezers, just shorting around protection diodes and the PTC and a few other things near the input header. And I only let out some magic smoke once, and I knew I was going to. I was probing around a surface mount bolt cap, and I think the smoke was actually just a little bit of the solder between the points getting vaporized. I don't think it actually came out of the component. That's one nice thing about having a bench power supply is, you dial the voltage or the current limit all the way down, and you can kind of do things like that without blowing components up. I mean, it's by no means a great thing to do, but I had pretty much lost almost all hope, and so I figured I'd try some desperate measures. Also keeping track of the voltage that's running through it. It is dragging the voltage down a tad, although I suspect most of the power is coming over the USB bus now. This light here is part of the flip, so that means something. There's also this red light here, and again, you don't require too many of the headers. I do have the header hooked between the flip mainboard and this back panel, so the camera, the speaker, or the microphone, that LED, they're all hooked up. I don't know if it'll function. I don't know if it'll operate the display without that stuff. But I'll try to make a note on the video if that's not required also, because trying to troubleshoot this thing with 9 million components hanging off of it is a pain in the ass. All right, so I guess one last look at the notes here, and try not to move around too much. And there you go. Thanks.